Subscribe our Tech Snap channel and share. OPPO F7 vs Huawei P20 Lite Battle of the Mid-Rangers. The OPPO F7 and Huawei P20 Lite, both phones have a lot of things in common. Both are the mid-range offerings from their respective brands, carrying a similar notched design. Even the price range of both the phones falls in the same category with a minor difference. All the similarities among both the phones scream for a comparison between the two. So we decided to compare every aspect of both the phones in detail with our real-life usage tests. For this, we carried both of them as our daily drivers. Read on to find out what we came across in the result of comparing the two. Design: can plastic beat glass? The first strikingly noticeable thing, the minute you pick up both the phones, is how much better does the P20 Lite feel in hand as compared to the OPPO F7. The design is pretty much similar with subtle differences. Both the phones feature a notched display, which makes them look almost alike from the front except for the fact that the F7 hosts a bigger 6.2-inch screen while the P20 Lite has a 5.8-inch display. The difference is, however, evident when we look at the back panels of the phones. OPPO F7 is built with a plastic body that clearly loses its ground when compared with the glass body of the Huawei P20 Lite, which looks and feels way premium. Just by holding the phone in hand, one can instantly choose the P20 Lite between the two due to its flagship's-like looks and amazing grip. It is also substantially lighter than its competitor and doesn't feel heavy on hands. P20 has a nicely built metal frame that looks premium as compared to the side rim on the F7 that feels cheap and plasticky. Looking down at the bottom of the phone, the F7 houses a micro USB port while its rival hosts a more modern USB Type-C. Based on the best building material out there and appropriate curves on the edges for firm grip along with being lightweight, we can easily conclude that Huawei P20 Lite wins in this category. Display: same tech, different output. Both the phones pack the same kind of display technology. An LTPS IPS LCD is packed in the handsets, carrying the same resolution of 1080x2280 with the trendy 19:9 aspect ratio. Since the F7 has bigger display, its pixel density is 405 pixels per inch, which is slightly lesser than 432 pixels per inch of Huawei's device. As subtle as this difference may seem, there is another huge dissimilarity between both the phones. Even with the same display technology, the viewing angles on the OPPO are way worse than the Huawei. The brightness is very low on the F7 even when cranked to full, which hinders the visibility and makes the phone almost impossible to use in sunlight. We had to reduce the brightness of Huawei P20 Lite below 50% to match the full brightness of OPPO F7. MediaTek Helio vs HiSilicon Kirin. OPPO F7 boasts a MediaTek Helio P60 chipset while the Huawei P20 Lite houses the company's much famed HiSilicon Kirin 659. While this may be astonishing for some of the Huawei fans out there, but the F7 beat the P20 Lite to dust when we tested both of them on Antutu benchmark. The former scored an impressive 107,695 and the later scored 88,680. However, no difference was spotted in the real-life usage of both the phone. Our moderate and heavy usage tests indicated that both the phones worked smoothly with an acceptable and negligible amount of stutter as expected from the mid-range phones during heavy usage. The RAM management on both the handsets was up to the mark. However, among the two, P20 Lite got a lot warmer after gaming sessions and extensive usage while the F7 maintained its warm temperature. So based on our findings, we admit this was hard to differentiate, but the OPPO F7 wins this category by a very small margin. Camera: 2 better than 1. Both the phones have the camera as their major selling pitch, however, there are a lot of differences in the camera hardware as well as software of both the phones. OPPO F7 hosts a single camera of 16MP resolution while the Huawei P20 Lite houses a dual rear camera setup with 16MP plus 2MP lenses. We tested both the phones on our trip around the city and found out some shocking revelations. Let's look at some of the pictures. Auto mode on OPPO F7. The first thing you might notice is that the pictures taken from OPPO F7 are inclined towards the darker side. The contrast is exceeding the mark of balance and the colors appear oversaturated, which result in loss of detail. Auto mode on Huawei P20 Lite. While in the picture taken by P20 Lite, you can clearly see more detail as well as natural color reproduction. If you look at the clouds in the background, the details are well kept by the P20 Lite and blown out by the F7. Same has happened with the plants in the foreground, which tend to appear darker in the image with OPPO F7. HDR mode on OPPO F7, HDR mode on Huawei P20 Lite. Though we didn't like the blunt brightening of pictures in both the phones in HDR mode, F7, however, has blown the colors in the background where SP20 Lite has kept the details to some extent, but the image still doesn't suit our taste due to overexposure. Portrait mode on Huawei P20 Lite, portrait mode on OPPO F7. Portrait mode is where the P20 Lite takes a long lead from the F7, which suffers badly due to the lack of dual camera setup. OPPO fails to capture as much detail as the Huawei and spreads an unwanted blur across the picture. The subject outline is blurred too. However, the portrait mode in P20 Lite works as a charm and smoothly separates the background from the subject. Picture with 2x zoom on OPPO F7. Here, the OPPO F7 does a good job of maintaining details about the subject in the picture. If you look closely, the clouds in the background are well exposed by the F7 while keeping the color accuracy in the foreground. Image with 2x zoom on Huawei P20 Lite. Huawei P20 Lite, on the other hand, tends to snap the picture on a cooler side and loses details too. Though it is a hard one to pick, F7 clearly wins in this picture. However, over results scream Huawei is the winner of this camera competition. Battery, more means better. One of the major concerns of any user in a smartphone is the battery. OPPO F7 draws its power from a 3400 mAh battery and the P20 Lite works off a 3000 mAh battery. The difference between their battery capacity is substantial enough. Still, the P20 Lite manages to take the lead in this section. As long as you keep both the phones at a minimum performance, i.e. day-to-day tasks, social media, video etc., both consume almost the same amount of battery. The moment you switch to intensive gaming of any other resource-hungry app, the battery on F7 starts to drop down astonishingly. Maybe it's the software optimization that leaves its mark on the battery. In a similar moderate usage battery test, P20 Lite consumed 15% battery while F7 ate up 18%, and on heavy usage, the OPPO F7 used 26% of its battery while the P20 Lite only kept it to 21%. We need our support. Please like and comment section below and don't forget to subscribe.